Welcome back. A lot of people might be planning their weddings around this time, and we've got Larry Williams here, president of the Northern Nevada Bridal Association and owner of the Reno Tahoe DJ company. Thanks for coming in, Larry.
Thanks for having me back.
Let's talk about wedding traditions, East Coast versus West Coast.
There's a big difference. On the East Coast, it's very traditional to have the grand entrance going straight to the first dance. And then they'll be sitting down for dinner and having a toast right there. And then during the actual several course meal, there'll be upbeat dancing. Really different than what we do here on the West Coast. Where on the West Coast, we'll have a grand entrance and they'll sit down for dinner. After dinner, there'll be a toast, then there'll be a cake cutting and then the first dance.
Yes.
So it's a kind of a different thing. The beauty is there's no real break with tradition. And brides and grooms nowadays, they've mixed it up with all kinds of different things. So if you want to do that first dance upon entrance, that's okay, because some brides like to change into a shorter dress or whatever for later on. So very common, but just know there is a difference between East Coast and West Coast. So it's always good to specify that to your wedding coordinator, DJ, or anybody else you're working with.
But really, whatever you want to do for your own wedding is what you're going to do.
That's it. And that's the best way to do it, because it's personality driven. It's got to speak to your personality, your style of fun. And, you know, as a bride, you've probably dreamed about your wedding your entire life. So you probably have these thoughts and ideas, and dealing with professional businesses, they'll help make that dream come true.
Where does the American wedding tradition come from?
A lot of it comes from the Victorian era. Queen Victoria married Prince Albert in 1840, and she was one of the very first to wear a white wedding dress. Back in that day, there was a lot of pastel colors, pinks and purples and this sort of thing, and there's very few, especially no popular person, wore a white wedding dress. She was one of the first, and that has held true ever since. Another thing is on the wedding cake. Now we see on the wedding cake, you'll see lacing. That goes around the wedding cake. That came from the Victorian era. Victoria era. She would have lacing on her wedding cake. Another popular one that everybody has seen is you hold flowers or your bouquet when you're walking down the aisle. That was first done by Queen Victoria. She carried posies because that was Prince Albert's favorite flower. And now, ever since, they've been walking down the aisle with flowers. Engagement rings, that started with Queen Victoria as well. And little known fact that Queen Victoria's daughter was actually named Victoria. In 1858, she got married, and she was one of the very first to use the classical piece by Wagner, the Wedding March. And that caught on as well. So many of the traditions that we see date back to the Victorian era and Queen Victoria and Prince Albert.
That's so interesting. You're an encyclopedia when it comes to a wedding.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks so much for coming in, Larry.
Thanks for having me back.
We'll be right back.